Hello dancers and welcome to day number 16 of our Corona Quarantine daily vlog. Teacher Joel here talking to you today about the Tango progressive link. We're going to again cover it in 3 different levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Talking about some technique, why we should do the technique, and finally some exercise or some practice actions that you can do to improve on those techniques. Let's get ourselves started with beginner level for the leads. Gentlemen, leads, I want you to be really clear about your foot placement on step number 2 of the progressive link. Step number 2 has the right foot being placed side and slightly back in promenade position. I'm going to repeat that again. Step 1, left foot forwards in CBMP. Step 2, right foot side and slightly back in promenade position. Sounds clear and easy enough, but gentlemen, a lot of the times what we end up doing, especially when we're starting out, is we take a forward step and then we go backwards into that progressive link second step. Maybe you can see in the video that my right foot is a lot further behind my left foot, and we do not want to do that. The reason for this is because if we move backwards, that means that when we take step number 2 into promenade position, we're not only rotating the lady, but we're pulling her as well towards us, which is going to make it very difficult for her to stay balanced and for us to stay centered and connected together. So gentlemen, what can we do to practice this? Again, we can use some sort of tool. Here I'm going to use again our trusty blue foam roller. I'm going to place this right in front of my feet. I'm going to place it along the line of dance. Here I start diagonal to the wall. I'm going to take my left foot forwards right before I hit the foam roller. On my second step, I want to place that right foot just behind that right foot and along the same place of the foam roller. What I do not want to do, gentlemen, in this exercise is take my left foot forward towards the foam roller, take my right foot backwards, and have an inconsistent space between my left foot and the foam roller and my right foot and the foam roller. That would be incorrect. We want to make sure that when we look down, that the spacing between my left foot and my right foot in relation to the foam roller is equal. Ladies, let's talk to you about step number 2 as well for the progressive link at the beginner level. Ladies, as we take our second step, so here I'm starting backwards in step number 1 with my right foot dancing backwards in CBMP. As I turn and place my left foot to the side and slightly back in promenade position, we want to make sure that the placement of that second step is already pointing diagonal center, already pointing when I've placed that foot. A lot of the times, ladies, when we dance this figure, when we're learning this, we do something like this. Step 1 backwards, step 2 placing it over here, and then swiveling the foot and turning later. We don't want to do this because of 2 reasons. Number 1, our turn is going to happen a lot later than the leads. The leads will be turning between step 1 and 2, or at least he should be doing that. Leads, listen up. And therefore follows, you're going to be a lot later in his rotational energy. You're going to go step 1, he's going to try to rotate you, you're not rotating, then you place your foot, and then you rotate, and it makes you feel a little bit rotationally lagged or heavy. The second reason for that also is that when we're doing this second step, we want to make sure that our energy is going already in this rotational direction to the right as we step onto the left foot. What we don't want to do is continue and step forwards onto the left foot without any rotation and only then turn. There are other figures that use that technique, but for the progressive link, this is not the correct thing to do. Ladies, what can we do to make sure that we have this correct timing of turn? I want you to use the word step, turn, step. I'm going to demonstrate this in the progressive link. I'm going to go step, I'm going to turn, and then I'm going to step. And when I look down and I place my left foot down, it is parallel to my right foot pointing diagonal center. Again, I'm going to demonstrate that one more time. It's going to be step, turn, step, and not step, step, turn. It's a different progression and it'll have a different outcome. So ladies, step, turn, step. All right, let's move on to the intermediate level technique. Gentlemen, we're talking to you specifically, or leads talking to you specifically about creating the promenade lead. And what I want you to be very clear about is, gentlemen, or leads, we are going to want to turn our shoulder line, our frame, to the right more than our hips turn to the right. I'll say that again. Our upper body turns more to the right than our lower body. More specifically, I want you to feel like your chest and your shoulders are the ones that create the turn, not the arms. Because gentlemen, so many times for not just this progressive link, but many other figures that we turn to promenade, especially natural turning figures in promenade, we end up doing something like this. Step, bum. And we end up now in this funny, if I turn around and show in this direction, or I turn around in this direction, hopefully you can see in the video that my frame is all wonky. It's all twisted and not coordinated. Why is that? Because I didn't create enough rotation from the correct part of my body. That rotation needs to happen higher up in my spine through my shoulder line to make sure that now that rotation is being transmitted at this level, not at this level, but at this level, and definitely not isolated just with the hands and the arms. If I do that, again, one, our frame is going to be funny, and two, the lady will feel like she's getting thrown with the arms instead of getting led by our bodies. How are we going to exercise this? Gentlemen, I'd like you to do a simple exercise by taking your arms. You're going to place your tips of your fingers onto your sternum or onto your chest. So I place my fingers, they're touching each other and they're also touching the chest. Now, as I do this progressive link, step 1, step 2, and I create now the rotation to lead the lady, this rotation to the right or this natural rotation, my hands do not shift along my chest. If my hands are shifting along my chest, that indicates that my arms are now being isolated from my spine or my upper body. I want to make sure now as I do this quick, that my hands do not change. We can just do this in a very simple standing rotational position, or we can already put this into the progressive link. Quick. Ladies, let's talk to you about your technique for the intermediate level. I want you to be really clear that when we are doing the turn, we are turning the lower body. The gentlemen, I was just talking about the upper body. Ladies, we're turning the lower body when we're creating the progressive link. So as I do this, and I'm going to do this backwards first, here's step number 1. Here's step number 2. I want you to recognize that my hips are turning, my feet are turning, but my shoulders are not turning as much. Now, why is this important, ladies? For the same reason for the gentlemen with their funky, wonky frame. Ladies, we want to make sure that we do not crowd your left side to the man's right side. We don't want your left side to over-rotate, especially at the shoulder level. If I do this in this direction, I go step 1 and step 2. If I turn my shoulders and my hips the same amount, look how much closer my left shoulder is to the camera here. Yeah, that means that this left shoulder is awfully close to the gentleman's right shoulder. This right shoulder is super far away. What's my frame gonna look like when I'm now in dance position, ladies? It's gonna look something like this because my arms are connected to his arms. My hands are connected to his hand over here with my right to his left. Yeah, that's going to now make my upper body, again, very distorted and uncoordinated. Something that we don't want to have, especially at the intermediate level. So ladies, what we're going to do is we're going to be less active with our upper body in the rotational plane of movement, and we're going to be a lot more active in the lower body, the hips, the legs, the feet. So if I demonstrate this more correctly, it's going to look something like this. Quick. Notice how this left shoulder is not so close to the camera. It is much farther away. I am more parallel to the line of dance with my shoulders, yet my hips and my feet are pointing at diagonal center. Ladies, we can use a water bottle or a foam roller. Let's just use this red water bottle. We're gonna place this now on my belly button or just below my belly button to signify where my hips are rotating. And what I want you to do as a first exercise is I'd like you to now keep your shoulders really quiet, and we're going to do a twist exercise where we are now wanting that hip action and therefore the feet. Right now I'm just using a swivel action, but we won't have a swivel action in the progressive link. This swivel action to signify that I am rotating my lower body more. If we do this within the figure, here I am, backing diagonal wall. Step 1, I'm gonna turn, make sure that my hips are facing diagonal center, but my shoulders are a little bit more towards the center. So I could use 2 water bottles again and do that the same way. step 1, step 2. So here, the hips have turned more and the upper body has turned less. The directionality of these two water bottles is different. All right, let's move on to the advanced level technique. And today I want to talk about the breath, or the dynamics of creating an impact action in this progressive link, and using the breath that we talked about. Boy, I already forgot which video, but one of our earlier videos, we had talked about different dynamics and how we can use our breath to explain those dynamics and to be able to create those dynamics more clearly within our dancing. The dynamic we're talking about today in this progressive link is the impact action. It is the idea of there being a movement and then an abrupt stop. Not an impulse where there is a energy and it continues to go. We're looking for that clear and abrupt stop. If I again show that impact breath action, it would hopefully look and sound kind of like this. I'm exhaling through my mouth, and at some point, wherever I decide, this will be on beat number 2, for both the gentlemen and the ladies, the leads and the follows, we are stopping, or we are halting our breath very abruptly. So now as we dance this, ladies and gentlemen, here I'll dance this first as a lead. I'm gonna do this progressive link. I want to be very clear about stopping my breath as I place my second step, my right foot to the side and slightly backwards in promenade position. Ladies, follows, it will look something like this. And I don't want to let any more air leave my body. Now, part of that is going to allow my body to also seize up or tense up for a very brief moment, because we are wanting to have no more movement. This is the key, no more movement. A lot of the times when people are thinking about bigger, more powerful progressive links, they think about acceleration, they think about putting in the energy, which is great to a certain degree, but then if there's energy without stopping, or mobility without stability, then we actually lose the whole staccato dynamic of the figure. So here's what it would look like as a lady if I do not have the staccato, but I'm looking for the speed instead. Now all of a sudden I had a lot more speed, but boy oh boy, the stop was very mushy and it was almost very off balance. And if I do this as a gentleman, I speed, whoa. And I don't want that to happen for you guys. So first things first, I need you to understand how to stop. Be very clear about how to stop, and then from there we can start to add further and further acceleration into this to maximize our velocity before we have that impact action. The exercise I'd like you to do is to just use... The exercise that I want you to do for this is to do your karate punches, and this is something that we do in our competitive peak training sessions. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that we're going to punch an imaginary wall that is really close, but we're going to miss that wall. I'm not going to actually punch through. The whole idea is to stop my action before I continue. So the punches are going to look something like this. I'm going to use my rotational energy, not my arms punching out, but my rotational energy of my body to influence my arms to punch forwards. And I'm going to use my body and my breath now to stop the arm as well. So it's not so if I do that again over and over in this direction, or if I do it from this direction, again, notice the coordination of action and breath to find the final staccato dynamic. As we get ourselves more and more involved and have that practice, then we can start to again use the breath within the figure, or as a lady. Yeah, and we want to be very clear that there is a connection of the stopping of the breath with the stopping of the body action. That's all we have time for today. Thank you very much again for watching our daily videos. I hope that you are learning something, and not just learning something intellectually, but you're also getting yourself to practice it. And the way we do that, again, as we talked about, is to do repetitions, at least 5 repetitions within the body to make sure that we get a sense of what's happening. I know hopefully sooner than later we'll get ourselves back into the ballroom and we'll be able to practice this with a partner, with Clara or myself in classes as well. But for now, try it out. We've got small space at home, no big deal. Here's Teacher Joel doing it in the little rec room, and we're able to make it happen. That's it for now. Thank you very much again for watching the video, and we'll see you tomorrow.